that a lot of them are going to ask you like, oh, what's your writing process and how long have you been writing music and what's your like fluffy bullshit. I'm not there. What I care about is like, once someone has talent, what next? Because there's a whole world of what next that most starting people who even have talent have no idea. And no one talks about it. So I get to ask a zillion questions that no one has ever, like they just don't bring it up. But there's a business to music. So if that's okay, I wanted to go there. And you just brought up virtual in-stores. So this is Ben Walsh from Tiger's Jaw. You've been releasing music since 2006. You've been on the road since then until March of last year, because both of our countries in North America said no more doing anything.
Mm-hmm.
But
I think your country might have handled it a little more gracefully than ours, but
I don't know, man.
Either way.
I've been watching what's going on with a couple of your governors. Pennsylvania is one of them. I think shit's going down, man. It's gonna be wild.
It's looking dicey. I don't know. I don't think anyone has the answers, but we'll see. We'll see where it goes from here. I mean, it definitely feels weird to not be able to tour, but it would feel weirder to try to make it happen in an unsafe way,
Yeah, I get it, man. Like, you don't want to be the one responsible for it, but we are seeing it begs questions. Like, I'm not a political person really, but like, it begs questions. You see all these huge, the Super Bowl happened and the rallies happened for Trump and all this, and then you did not see an explosion in the numbers. So why would a concert be any different? I don't know. I'm just a guy asking questions. Like, I'm not a doctor. I don't want to go down the conspiracy. I don't know. But I don't think it'd be any different. So what is a virtual? So is it like on their website and they're hosting you and, hey, come and check it out? This is like, how does that work?
So we did a few exclusive vinyl variants through some different retailers. And so if you pre-order the record through one of those retailers, you would get a private code to a Zoom meeting. And then there's like a moderator that works with the label and then a moderator that works with the retailer, and they let everybody in and they kind of moderate. Like we play a few songs in like a stripped down sort of acoustic way. And then we do like a Q&A sort of section where anyone who's watching can ask us questions or, chime in and say whatever.
That's cool. That's really cool. And I think what's interesting about this is that the lockdown initially looks like it's going to confine you. But a lot of bands, including now like yourself, I'm hearing they actually have found ways to take stuff further than they had before. So I'm not sure who it was. It was very well produced. I think it was Justin Bieber, but someone did a really well produced. Oh man, if I'm wrong on that, it's going to look awful. There's like, there was a really well produced show where the whole band was rocking out in a studio and there was a camera person with live video going like right up to, the guitarist's fingers and the vocal on the mic and the piano and like people could join in and be on stage with the band in their experience in their living room. And that's something that I don't think even anyone was thinking about, but would be immediately accessible to like every single artist if they wanted to. You just need a direct line in and a video camera and you could do that.
That's true. I mean, yeah, there's a lot of logistics that go into like making a show happen virtually is, you can do it in a very basic sort of sense pretty easily. But like, if you want quality audio, quality video, especially if you're trying to live stream it, there's like, you need to have the right type of internet strength. There's quite a few logistics that go into it. We did an in-studio live show last year, and yeah, we learned very quickly how difficult it was. But we managed to pull it off. This time around, we're actually doing on release day tomorrow, which is Friday, March 5th. We're premiering a full album live performance that we actually pre-recorded while everybody was in while we were filming our last music video.
Understood.
But we played the record from start to finish. So it's like a full live performance that's going to act as our record release show, since we can't do like a classic tour or record release show in person.
Yeah, that presents a lot of issues. And just so for everyone listening, it's called I Won't Care How You Remember Me. This will at the time be after the 5th, but it released back on the 5th of March. Get it, find it, tigersjaw.com. You guys actually are on a lot of places: Twitter, Instagram, Bootcamp, Facebook, and a few places that I actually didn't recognize. I was like, oh, they're even on this. Like, I just Googled you and tried to find out. Is that a big part of what you guys are doing, is getting as much presence online as possible?
We've always done things in a way that just feels sort of natural for the band. I think that we started in a time when the internet was really starting to take over, like, MySpace, Facebook, things like that. And when we first started the band, like it was more so like this microcosm of like the local Scranton music scene, where everything was like in person and putting up flyers for shows, and like the scene was more like a actual physical community. And then as like the internet sort of like expands your reach to different people, it changes like how you approach being a band, because you're kind of commodifying art in a way that sometimes doesn't feel right. But to kind of like survive in the music industry, you sort of have to figure out what parts of it you want to be a part of and what parts of it you don't. There's a lot of apps and trends and things that kind of come and go, like your Snapchats and your TikTok and things like that, where I don't know, like they make me feel old, I guess, but I don't technically understand how they work, but I see them working for a lot of other artists. So I think we sort of just follow what feels natural for us. And social media is always going to feel like a strange way to try to connect with fans, but it's definitely helped us. I can't say that it hasn't, but it's a far cry from the early days of the band where we just wanted to travel and play shows and stuff like that.
Yeah. Are you still putting a priority on touring as much as possible? Obviously, yeah. COVID, but that's still kind of where the strategy is for this band.
I mean, that's where we've seen the most growth in the band, and that's where you kind of get the most sense of fulfillment. There's that human connection with being able to travel. I grew up in a small town. I rarely traveled until I started touring, so it really opened up the rest of the world to me in a really cool way. So
that's awesome. You got to see the world through traveling, and you guys have been far. Like I was just scrolling through, I think it was your Tumblr page. I was scrolling through your Tumblr page and I saw Japan tour.
Yeah. And Tumblr, that's Tumblr is another example of a website that once kind of like ran the like emo indie sort of scene, and now you don't see anybody posting on it. But yeah, we were fortunate enough to tour in Japan. We've been to Australia twice now.
Nice.
We got to play in South America. Actually, the first time I ever left the country was going to Canada. Really? when we toured in 2009. Yeah.
Hopefully it was in the summertime.
No, it was the first week of January. And I remember getting out of the van and I had like 2 coats on. I had long johns on. Like I was very,
you were ready.
I thought prepared, but this gust of wind came that just cut right through me. And I've never felt more cold.
Where was that?
It was on the way to Toronto. Actually, I don't know exactly where we were, but we had just kind of passed through the border and we were headed towards Toronto.
That's funny. You were probably up like Niagara Falls, Buffalo area. That's funny, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, it gets you, huh? You just like the wind rips and you're like, you go from I'm ready and you open that door to I'm not ready.
Yeah. And I mean, Pennsylvania's winters are no joke either, but Canada just has a different level of
because it's
chill.
Not, what is it, like a 12-hour drive from the border to get to where you are?
It depends on which border, I guess, but yeah. I think that some of them are a little bit quicker. I think I can get to the crossing near Erie, Pennsylvania, in like probably 4 or 5 hours.
Yeah, it's so funny that not that many, like probably 300 miles, 350 miles, so 450 to 500 kilometers. It makes such a huge difference. Like when you get down there, the winters are so much nicer. Like I'm jealous of it, man. I'm not gonna lie to you. pretty miserable outside right now.
Yeah.
I like it. So with the band, what I like about having a 4-person band is a lot of the bands that I talk to, they each have different things within the band, but some bands say, no, we all do everything. Some bands say, hey, you know, this is our marketer, this is our lead guy, this is our booker, this is our, how did you guys spread that up, or did you hire people on? Like, what's that look like for you?
So yeah, we've always been a pretty DIY sort of band. I act as like the band manager and also the tour manager. So I kind of like organize all the logistics and I maintain the relationships with like the record labels, things like that. Brianna has always been our our art director. You know, she does the majority of our merch designs. She's done most, if not all, of our album covers. She's constantly like she's edited music videos for us. She's anything in the video or visual world. Brianna is like totally like in command of. So this is the first record that we've done since our bass player Colin and drummer Teddy have officially joined. They had been touring members for quite a few years, so we've been playing music for about 6 years together. And kind of touring nonstop. So when it came time to start writing and recording this record, it was a no-brainer to include them and write together with them. So it's been fun getting kind of delegating more of the responsibility of the band, like among 4 people instead of just the 2 of us.
Yeah.
So everyone's really, really talented. Colin and Teddy both, are just incredible musicians, and they also have a lot of skills in like the audio recording and engineering world. So like, when we're sort of engineering like home live sessions and things like that, they're super skilled at like setting that stuff up. So everybody has their own lane,
It's super valuable to have that.
Absolutely. Yeah. And we, like I said, we've always done this band in a way that like what feels natural, what feels like authentic to us. So for the first couple of years of the band, we would book our own shows, and it was very, self-propelled. But a few years in, we met a booking agent that we really like clicked and like connected with on a personal level. It felt like an old friend as soon as we met him. So he's not one of like the kind of music industry guys that's just out to make a ton of money. Like he only works with bands that he truly like believes in and loves their music. So we've worked with him for quite a few years now. And
who was that?
So our booking agent's name is Merrick, and he works for Ground Control, which is a really, really cool company. And Merrick unfortunately lives not unfortunately for him, because it's beautiful, but he lives outside of LA. So we rarely get to see him unless we're on tour, and we haven't been on tour for a while. So I definitely miss seeing him.
Yeah, it's the social effects, man. Have really messed me up personally, and a lot of people that I know, a lot of bands. Like this lockdown is pretty crazy. So you have him doing your booking. You mentioned that he only works with people whose music he really believes in. In your estimation, is that like hyper important, or like, hey, no, whatever goes?
We've definitely been in situations like we had like an international booking agent once that you could tell that didn't have the same sort of like passion or drive. Like it was very like we would come to him and be like, hey, we want to tour, whereas our booking agent Merrick in the States is like coming to us with ideas and opportunities and being very proactive. So it definitely makes a huge difference, because we're not, we do well. We're not the biggest band in the world. We're not, selling out massive, amphitheaters or anything like that. So, it's easy to want to book a band that's making you tons and tons of money. But if you are down to work with the band and help organically build them and build something that, means something to you and that you believe in, like, there's something special about that. That's not just like going for the next thing that you think is going to make you money. So we've always gravitated towards people that we find in the music industry that are more focused on the artistic element of it than the like money side of things.
100%. And like, there's nothing wrong with that, right? So me coming on strong at the beginning, like, yo, we got to talk about the money. That's like, it's part of it. It's not the whole thing.
Of course, yeah.
I always say, and I say this probably on every single show, like I cannot give my listener talent. Like you have to know, your scales, and you got to be able to play the songs that you're trying to play, and you got to know, and you got to have good melody, and you have to write a good song. Like that's first. And then it's, well, how can I, like you mentioned with Teddy and Colin, how can I engineer it properly and record it properly and mix it properly and have it all and have the vocals sit in the right spot. And then once you have that, then comes all of this other stuff. But a lot of musicians that I know, even who are really talented on their instrument, like they think they're going to write an album and that's it. They don't know about going, like, they don't know about putting 100 shows before the album release to have this big build up to the release to then market it after. Like they're missing that. And it's causing them to, I think, unfortunately, not go as far as they want to.
Yeah, I think that, with the advent of the internet, it kind of gives this sort of level playing field to just so much content, so it's tough to weed through it all and find stuff that resonates with you, so maybe pre-internet, you had this limited source of where you were getting recommendations or finding out about new bands, but with the internet, it's just overwhelming because there's anyone can, like, I can record something today and upload it onto the internet, and then it's, a song that maybe somebody would listen to, or maybe no one would ever hear it. But just like home recording and the internet has just it's just put so many things out there for you to, it's easy to lose everything in it.
You might have seen this. There's a documentary that was called The Democratization of Technology. And I had to Google the word democratization. It means like everyone getting this. And so exactly what you're saying, like in the 70s or 80s, you basically just had to impress one person at a gateway, like who's the gateway to say, hey, come into my label. And then the label would take that talent and lift it above with the promotion that no other band was getting and with the videos that no other band had and all this. And so that was the method. You would have like a local performance, you would cut your teeth, you would get good enough that someone goes, hey, Tiger's Jaw, that sounds like this. I see the value. And then they bring you to some C-level with a suit and then they put money behind you. But now it's completely different. Like Bieber sitting on a piano with a guitar can sing a song and it's recorded and he's 14 and it sounds good. And then it gets 100 million views. And then a bunch of those suited people come and like talk to you and they search you out. So it's totally flipped it backwards. But the issue is it's not just the people who are hunted and found first who are being elevated. It's everyone. So the song itself has to like stick out like a diamond in the rough to get you noticed. And it comes back to like, you got to have talent. Like you have to have something that, whether it's amazing writing or lyrics or just your melodies are kick-ass, like it doesn't have to be technically difficult, but it has to be talent, right? To stand out.
Yeah, there's got to be something, something unique and something that sticks with people. Because it's just, it's easy to get lost in the shuffle with just the amount of content out there. And I think that's a great thing. Like, I think, anybody who wants to create art and start a band and do things like that should have the opportunity to do that. But just in a sense of like, if you have the opportunity to do it as like, technically this is how I make a living is playing in this band, and it's never been an easy process, but it's like I'm so lucky that I get to do this as my job. But yeah, like it's very dependent on the listener and people caring about us and people coming out to see us or buying our records, so it can be taken away at any time, so it's largely dependent on like that's why it's so strange to commodify it, because you want to create art that you believe in, that you stand behind. And you don't want to have to think about whether it's marketable or whether it's profitable. It has to come from a place that's meaningful. So kind of striking that balance between the artistic side and the business side is always going to be difficult.
It is difficult. And It's really important that you brought that up because in the world of 3-minute songs, I think there's a market for a 2-hour song. Like in a world of 3-minute songs, I actually think, well, for example, totally unrelated, but exactly my point, like Joe Rogan, right? He talks to someone for like 4 hours and people listen to it. And those same people go on some radios, I don't know, CNN, MSNBC. In Canada, we have City TV, CBC, and they talk for like 2 minutes and they cherry pick and then they put it out. But people actually are willing to sit down and listen to this huge conversation and parts of it and come back to it, much the same as they would sit probably on your Zoom and watch a whole entire album for an hour and a half and ask you questions after and still stick around. And like there's a market there, but there's also such a big chance that you have it's hard to pitch your label on like, hey, I want to do this 2-hour song. But you know what I mean?
Definitely ambitious.
10, 15, or I think there's a market there.
See, I have maybe a differing opinion because I feel like Spotify and having songs on demand has sort of shortened the attention span of people, your average music listener. I mean, I'm all about not a 2-hour song maybe, but like I'm all about like the album. Like we don't write songs to release as singles. We have, the whole album in mind. So like the whole start to finish, and we put a lot of thought into how the tracks are sequenced and how they flow from one to the next. And so it's like it's tough when, back in the day you would put out a CD and people would, spend money on the CD if they were curious to hear what it was. And then like me as a listener, I would save up my money and go to the record store in Scranton and buy used CDs. And like you put the CD on and you're not like, you can skip tracks, but you spent the money on this thing. So you're going to like
listen through,
try to dive in and pay attention and try to like get something out of it, but when you can stream literally any song ever and just switch to, from one to the next and keep hitting shuffle, it sort of takes away that concentration or that focus.
Totally does, man. And it presents an issue that has not really ever been dealt with in the music industry at any time ever. Like it's a huge disruption that is brand new, and I think still several years later after the advent of shuffle services, let's call it, iTunes and YouTube and Spotify. I still think people are figuring out, okay, how do I actually navigate this space to make the artist benefit, right?
Yeah, it's tough because, in an ideal world, people come see us and they buy our record, but like we've obviously people have found us through Spotify algorithms, so it's tough to completely discount that. It's a necessary evil, I think. It's not my preferred method.
Because if you don't go on it, you're losing the new people. But if you go on it, so maybe this is interesting. I had this brain thought right now. You can have it for free. Maybe there's something to having like premier content and everyone's content. And this is still really good, but if you want to hear all of it and there's that little extra, that's only on ours and it costs $1 for these other 37 songs or whatever. Maybe there's something there. Or like what you're doing with these Zooms where it's like, hey, you can listen to our music anytime, but if you want to be part of the band in this club that's watching us and all these friends and we're going to have a good time, well, give us $1 and join our Zoom. Maybe there's something there.
There's a platform called Patreon that's pretty similar to that concept, where you sort of, there's different tiered subscriptions that allow you to get access to kind of like exclusive content from the band.
Yeah. Do you guys share stuff about your personal lives as well, or is it mostly focused on the music?
Like you're talking like in a Zoom Q&A or something like that?
No, I mean, like kind of. I've always had this thought, especially with the advent of social media, that fans are friends. And if it's weird from the band perspective because you're talking to your phone, But like from a fan perspective, I see a lot of bands who put up stupid shit like, hey, this is Brianna cooking bacon this morning. Like just that. Like, do you know what I mean? But then
Yeah.
the listener who loves your tunes feels like they're inside, and the performance has gone from being on stage and putting up this content that's curated really nice to this is my life. Do you want to join me on this journey? And I think again, it's these little changes that are totally flipping the paradigm from the listener. So I
Yeah.
was wondering if you do any stuff like that and if it gets engagement or if you're mostly focused on just putting music out. And again, there's nothing wrong with that.
Sure. I mean, yeah, I don't think of myself as like a, like a personality, you know what I mean? I like to make music and I like to perform it, so that part of it has always felt strange. Like, I think there should be, some sort of mystique or some sort of separation between, like like my personal life and, how people like what of my art gets presented to the world. Social media definitely blurs those lines, but I've definitely had awkward encounters with people kind of like crossing the line or acting as though they know me personally when they really are just familiar with with my music, or have like asked sort of like uncomfortable questions or things like that.
Like what?
I can't think. I don't want to like.
Don't name
I don't want.
names. I'm just curious. What is it awkward? Like really?
Yeah, just like oversharing personal information to me, or like uh I don't know. It's a strange thing because like I'm not
Interesting.
I'm not a person that a lot of people like. I'm not a famous person, but like to someone who is really into our world of music, they might, like a very specific type of person might recognize me or something. So
Right.
it's a strange thing. Like to me, I'm
Because they
nobody. I'm
feel
just
like they know you, right? So I
yeah.
think you should take that as a compliment. And the reason is because like I know people. That's my deal. I'm, the only two things I'm good at is talking and playing guitar, and I love people. And like if someone's doing that, that means that you have built a really positive emotional connection in their life. And
Sure.
that's you're living rent free in their mind, actually, is what you're doing. That means they're thinking about you on a fairly frequent fairly frequent frequency. Let's just leave it at that. Like they're coming back to these thoughts, and they felt comfortable enough to tell you things that they wouldn't tell like maybe even some of their friends. Like they felt like they could unload. And as
Sure.
awkward and as weird as that is, like I think people are starting to get to the point where they're recognizing that their personality online is an extension of who they are. But without you knowing it, you are building real relationships with people in their head. And they
Yeah.
have this picture of who you are as some, nice person. I can trust him. His lyrics, my song that I liked and connected with was right on your website is Warn Me. I like that one a lot. So if I listen
Cool.
to
Thank
Warn
you.
Me 1.5 million times, right, and I start to get this connection to that lyric and that's that, and then I picture who Ben Walsh is. It sounds fucking crazy, but it's real. And I have this picture of who you are and all of the different parts. Well, you know that there's way more to you than that, but they think that's you.
Yeah.
And they like it enough to tell you everything about them.
Yeah. I mean,
It's
that's an
pretty
interesting way
cool.
to put it.
It's
For
pretty
sure. Yeah.
cool, actually. I like that. And that's cool. It's a testament to you guys and the work that you're putting out, man. I love that. Here's a question for you. If you were brand new starting today,
Mm-hmm.
you had talent, right? You had, a visual, you knew kind of like, okay, this is my logo. This is how we want to be seen. What do you do? How do you start from there?
You know, I still like, anytime anyone sort of asks me that question, it's like I see a lot of bands starting that kind of like try to skip a few steps. For me, it was super important to like kind of like cut our teeth in the local scene, like booking our own shows, like failing, like just trying and failing a few times, like booking shows where nobody shows up, and figuring out like just focusing on the artistic part first, but really doing as much of it on your own so you can learn from those experiences. Like we didn't get a booking agent until we learned what it takes. Yeah, learned what it takes to book our own tours, and connected with somebody who we could trust with that responsibility. So I think it's just super important to like figure out how to operate as a band in the traditional sense, and then see what of the apps and things like that, like what connects with you and what you think applies to how you want to present your art to the rest of the world.
Good answer. That's a really good answer. And I like the idea of failing through something, because it allows you to know what to say when you need something from a booking agent. Like producing music comes after you're a musician. So because when you're in a studio, if you have a sound in your head and you're trying to get your bassist to play your sound, how are you going to say that? How are you going to communicate your vibe? There's a communication that needs to be required. Is that making sense? So when you fail through booking your own shit, you learn about what it requires so you can say to the artist or the booking agent, these are the things that I need from you. But if you've never been through it, you actually don't know what you need from them.
Yeah, I think too, like what was really important for us doing things ourselves is that we made those connections with venues, with other bands, with other people within the music industry. Like we made those connections firsthand. So when you develop those relationships, people are maybe more willing to to help you out if they know you on a personal level, rather than going through some sort of like middle person.
100%. And hey, like I've booked a few shows at your venue. I've had people come in, buy beer from you. Like it's been good every time. We leave and it's clean and we pack our shit up and we're out by 3 a.m. Like we're a professional band. You can have us back. Like that's reputation, right? And you can Jones it to the next bar. Hey, I just played this bar down here and it went awesome. Ask that person. And now you get this like reputation around that's actually building. And I think that's really crucial. But again, someone wouldn't know if they didn't try and do it themselves.
Exactly. Yeah.
I'm kind of picking up a vibe. How much of your success would you say is just because you guys just didn't fucking quit?
I don't know. We, like I said, we've always been on this sort of slow climb, so I think perseverance is a big part of it, but I don't know. It's tough to say.
Yeah. I like asking, like, that was just one that popped out of my head. I was like, interesting, because you do have longevity, right? From your first album, which I have written down, Belongs to the Dead. Sweet name, by the way. Like,
thank you.
15 years later at 2021, you're still, the two of you, the same, and you've been through, like, I think I counted like 13, like some ridiculous amount of like just people who have been in and who are no longer in. But keeping the two of you in it and writing, I think that's important to be able to get to a level where people are starting to really note it. Like, not that it hasn't been noticed before, but like I'm hearing this progression as I listen through. I have a couple of each album. Like it is getting better, and the songs are getting clearer, and the purpose is coming through more, and the lyrics are sitting better, and like everything's improving. But I think a lot of bands don't get there because they kind of just quit after year 2.
Yeah, well, it's like each record is like a snapshot in time of like who you are as a band at that time, who you are as an artist at that time. So naturally, you do it for long enough. If you are trying to learn and progress and make different things and pull from different influences, it's you're going to see a progression. You're going to see a difference. So we never want to make the same album twice, because that to me is not interesting.
Yeah, you can't.
Yeah.
I mean, you could, but what's the point, right? You want to have progress. You want to be moving forward, and I really dig that. Any plans on getting back to tour, or are you guys just saying, wait, we can't predict anything, we're just gonna go back when it's available?
I mean, we're not trying to push the envelope there, but I do think that once restrictions are lifted and once it's kind of deemed safe to do so, there's a lot of tours that were supposed to happen that kept getting pushed back. So I feel like a lot of the rooms that we would normally play are probably going to be booked up for quite a while. So I'm hoping that we'll be able to tour again
I think there's
sometime soon, but we'll see.
I feel like there's going to be a sort of orgiastic explosion of people who want to go to concerts and shows and shit. Like
I hope so.
Really think not. I think also people who are not usually a go out of the house kind of person, even those people are going to be going out of the house. And I really do expect like a ridiculous explosion. Probably, I don't know how long lived the phenomenon will be, but I believe every single person and their freaking parents are going to be sitting at a bar drinking a fucking beer, like trying to just say, "Thank God I'm not sitting on my couch watching Netflix."
Yeah, I mean, it is like, you've been deprived from having these options for so long that maybe it does make people think differently about like I don't know, like live music will hopefully have more of an importance to people who maybe would overlook it in the past.
Take it less for granted.
Exactly.
Absolutely. The culture down there, when someone walks past you playing a live show, everybody puts $1 in. Does everyone do that? Because in Canada, that's kind of dead now. The jar stays empty, and I feel bad for bands. But I've heard down in the States that a lot of people support. They're more willing to put a couple bucks in to support the live music.
I'm not sure about that. I think like I've heard of that happening at like house shows and things like that, but not any sort of club shows or anything.
Okay, cool, man.
Like a tip jar. I think in the like merchandise area, there's usually tip jars, but that goes to the actual merch sellers.
Yeah, the store. Speaking of merch too, I noticed on your website you guys have a tremendous amount of like shirts and pins, and I think I saw a flag you could get from you guys. Is that all? All? You said it was Brianna doing that.
Yeah, she designs a lot of it and then curates the rest of it. Like there are other artists and designers that we've worked with, and some that we kind of regularly work with. But Brianna is like the artistic director of the band. So whether she's creating it or seeking it out from another artist, she's sort of overseeing the whole process.
I'm curious, if you don't mind me asking this, is it like a stock of shirts that you guys already have, or if I was to order one, you guys are going to order it, get it printed, and send me that?
We typically order like a sort of set amount of stock, and then we have them on hand.
Okay.
Like a running inventory in the store. So
you do have a running. So then when you sell out of a shirt, is it this one's gone, so sorry, get new stuff, or is it we'll just order more of the same?
If it's something that really like is popular with people, sometimes we'll remake it, or we'll do it in a different way. Like if it was on a short sleeve T-shirt, maybe we'll do it on a hoodie or something like that. If it's a design that people really like. But I think there's something interesting about coming up with new designs and more variety for people. So sometimes when we do sell through a design, it's like that one's done. Like what's next?
100%. No, I agree with that. And I like it. And another thing that I think a lot of kind of artists moving through have is merch, but maybe not nearly the selection. Like for the listeners listening, I highly recommend. I'm pretty sure it's tigersjaw.com. If that's not.
Tigersjaw.com, yeah, is sort of the catch-all. Our web store that we run personally is tigersjawstore.bigcartel.com. And then we have merchandise like in other stores as well, like all the record labels that we've worked with typically have merch designs that are exclusive to them.
Nice. So you're able to put it out through other venues as well. So you're really marketing yourself. And you guys have been connected to a tremendous number of labels over the years, like more than one a year, I think, if I counted correctly. Is there a particular reason, or you're just kind of trying to work with everyone, or we work with multiple labels at the same time? Like what explains that?
I think in the early days, we worked with a greater variety, but like we released a few different like split recordings with bands, but kind of once we started releasing more full lengths, it was pretty much like we would work with one specific label for those. And we worked with Run for Cover Records, a Boston-based label, for quite a few releases. And then our not our most recent record that just came out, but the one that came out a few years ago, we worked with a label called Black Cement. And then for this newest one, we're now working with Hopeless Records.
So three, like it's almost like a new label every record.
We did 3 records with Run for Cover, but
okay.
But for the last 2 records have been one with each label.
Okay. Is there any particular reason for that, or just like trying different stuff, or I don't tell you because I'd have to kill you if I tell you?
Yeah, I mean, each record deal looks different, you know, and you know, I manage our band, so I do my best to like facilitate those deals in ways that benefit us. And you know, sometimes you know, it makes sense to kind of like work with different teams for different things. And you know, we tend to gravitate towards people that believe in our band and allow us the creative freedom to do the things that we want to do. So we've always worked with labels that kind of like help us build that.
I agree with that 100%. And I'm under the impression that it's incredibly important to have someone who's working with you because they believe in you. And you illustrated it really well, Ben. You said we had a guy, can't remember his name, down in LA area, where he's coming to us now and he's saying, hey, I have this idea for your band.
Exactly.
Yeah. I think that's really critical. That's really critical because he could see something from his vantage point as a booking agent that you don't see because you're an artist. And that could be a really good, but if you're just with someone who's in it for the money, they are not thinking like that, period. So
right.
Getting with it, right? And someone who believes in you, and then it engenders loyalty. Like I'm pretty sure you told me you've been working with him for a long time because you just keep going back because you know he believes in your shit. That's so key. Like money's not everything. It's part of it and you need it to live. But being able to build the team that makes money based on a common belief in the music.
Right. Well, you're only going to get the longevity if you're, you know, if you're enjoying what you're doing and making art that you want to make. Like if we, you know, tried to make music that was going to just make us money, it probably wouldn't feel genuine and probably wouldn't feel like fulfilling to perform, you know, so there wouldn't be longevity in that.
100% agree with you. I 100% agree with that. And that's one of the reasons why for me, I had to take a step back from music school is that I was feeling like I was going down this, let's call it road of professional music that I was no longer connecting with. Like that was a really critical thing for me.
Mm-hmm.
Did I cut out there?
Sorry, I was getting a notification on my phone. Sorry.
Oh, that's why it's going blank. No problem. It just goes dark when you get one. It's not a big deal. All good, man. All good. Listen, you guys came out with, or are coming out with, I Won't Care How You Remember Me. Really interesting name. Is there a story to that, or just like we think it sounds dope?
No, it's sort of like an overarching theme. So there's a title track, you know, that's called the same title as the record, and basically the message is about you know, taking accountability for the things that you have agency over and learning from the things that you've experienced in the past, but not dwelling on them, you know, not focusing on things that you can't do anything about and getting hung up on those things, but rather moving yourself forward in a way that you take accountability and learn from things and move forward. So we're, you know, it's always a process of learning and you know, advancing and evolving. So it's sort of like not getting hung up with any sort of like previous version of things.
I like that. Taking accountability for things that you have agency over. That's a kick-ass lyric, man. No, I really do like it. I think a lot of people maybe miss that. They don't do that. And that's critical. And there are, when you start focusing on what you can change, you realize there's a lot more that you can change than maybe you initially thought when you weren't focusing on it.
Yeah, I mean, it's easy to just get hung up on stuff that, has kind of like hurt you in the past, but not figuring out how to like take that forward. Like you're living in this previous like state of, of something that isn't working, and instead of learning from it and figuring out how to make the next thing work.
Yeah, I actually really resonate with what you just said a lot. Yeah, you if you focus on what went wrong and not focus on what do I prefer it to go like in the future, you're done. You're dead in the water. It's game over. No matter what you're doing. Like I don't think that's just applicable to music or having a band. Like if you're focused on what sucked and not what I prefer because I learned my lesson from what sucked, done. You're done. You're done. And I think that's a really, really cool place to actually end this. I learned a lot from you, Ben. I think this is really cool.
I appreciate the thoughtful questions.
Yeah, so I appreciate your appreciation of the thoughtful questions. Listen, if when you as soon as this album is open, fire it over to us. We will do some sort of like, hey, check them out when we release these videos. We'll cut everything up. We'll send it to you. Thank you. I really appreciate it. I learned you have like a very, I don't want to say it's not slow. It's calm. It's like a calm, thoughtful. This is how I want to do it, and I like that. I think a lot of artists are so slamming it and trying to get an award tomorrow that they miss the journey, and you're focused on the journey, and it's actually rewarding you because of that. And I really like that.
Yeah, I mean, if you're just focused on these sort of lofty future goals instead of enjoying why you're doing it and what you're doing, like you don't really have that sense of purpose. You're just driven by like, I don't know, the wrong things. You have to be intrinsically driven by doing something that you love doing. And then whatever you do achieve is just, an extra added benefit to it.
Yeah, that's really well said. And the people who connect to their music like that, it's so paradox. It's truly a paradox. If you connect to your music on that level, that is the thing. Like you let go of the money somehow and you focus on only the music, and I won't produce a single song that I don't want to produce. I think when you get there that the money hits you. It's like that's when it starts to show up, or that's when people start listening, or that's when you get, your record labels who are interested and the people who want to come, because it's refreshing to see a band who's not just trying to get us to listen. Let's listen to that band.
Right. I mean, you have to develop your own style, your own voice, so I think like spending more time looking inward rather than, what's working for everybody else is kind of like what's most important.
Super critical. And if you spend your whole career just mimicking others because this is the trend that's going, I mean, yeah, you'll probably get temporary success here and there following a trend, but they won't be following you. They'll be following the trend. But if you spend that time looking inwards and then you're committed enough because you just like it to do it for 15 years, well, sooner or later you have a sound it's not anyone else's sound. And that allows people to find you. And if you happen to hit a trend, then you're Green Day, right? Or then you're serious. Like, I know it's silly, but like, it's true. Then you're the Beatles. They hit a huge trend. They were the first, right? But that's cool. And you guys are putting in the long work to be who you are, and that's rewarding you. And I think that was a cool thing that I uncovered in this interview. Please send my hellos to Teddy and Colin and Brianna. I really appreciate them and what they do. I dig the songs, I dig the tunes. I like the sound. There's a band that I used to really listen to a lot called Newfound Glory. You know them?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we've toured with them in the past. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was something that I heard. I heard like a little bit of that kind of a vibe, but there's obviously differences. And one thing I liked was the harmonies between yourself and Brianna. I thought that was pretty cool.
I appreciate that. Yeah. We definitely try to incorporate a lot a lot into our
hard.
music.
It's actually really hard. Like I don't know. I play guitar a lot, and I sing, and like playing guitar and singing is difficult, but playing guitar and harmonizing while the other person is playing piano. Like I watched your NPR concert, the Tiny Desk concert.
Oh, cool.
And just like I'm inside it. Like I know what it's like. I'm like, damn, that's actually very difficult. It sounds like a very calm and collected song, but I know the coordination of your vocals that are required and the hands at the same time. That's
right.
It's a lot of practice, man. It's a lot of practice that goes in.
I mean, we've been playing together for quite a long time, so we, you know, it takes a lot of time and effort to kind of develop that, you know, that sort of musical trust in each other.
It's worth it once you get there, though.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for joining me on Drivewire Radio, man. This is a really cool interview, and I super appreciate you taking the time.
Yeah, I appreciate you. Thank you so much.
You got it, man. If you're ever up in Toronto, like we're friends now. So if you're ever up in the Toronto area, hit us up. We'll get you in studio. We can do a live. We can do something like that. Get a bunch of releases out. If you have new releases, we'll blast it on our music. Hey, this is a past guest. Check them out. Tiger's Jaw. So send us stuff to promote you, man. We're all about promoting the guests who have come on. Okay.
I appreciate it. And we definitely love playing in Toronto, and we'll definitely be back sometime.
It's a cool scene, man. It's a cool scene. There's some real heavy musicians up this way. Definitely.
Yeah. It's a really cool city. There's a lot of cool venues up that way. So.
They're all closed right now though, man. It's killing the music scene.
We'll get back to it when we can.
We will, and it'll be better than ever in my estimation.
Let's hope so.
Cool. Thanks a lot, Ben. Have a good one, okay?
Yeah, take care. Thank you so much.
You too.